Welcome back to the Bryan Devore Connection. I'm your host, Bryan Devore. Reverse mortgages. For a long time, there's some taboo about reverse mortgages. People thought they were not a good idea, not a good financial vehicle, but in fact, they're actually really good. But there are some common misconceptions still about reverse mortgages. So I didn't think of anyone else better to come talk to us about what those misconceptions are and why they are misconceptions than my friend Jeremy Patterson with Fairway Mortgage. Jeremy, how are you today?
Fantastic. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. So we're going to get into the top misconceptions and as well as the benefits of reverse mortgages in just a moment. But what attracted you to the field of reverse mortgage?
So for me, reverse mortgage is probably one of the best financial tools that people can use, right? And I think that I'm a numbers guy. I love serving people. And when you have a heart to serve, the community of 62 and over homeowners really need our help right now. So that's why I'm here.
Yeah, for sure. It must be kind of hard sometimes, though, when you sit down with people who are already thinking, oh, they've heard reverse mortgage, so their guard's already up. So is that a difficult challenge, and how do you overcome that?
100%. I think that reverse mortgages are some of the most difficult mortgages to navigate through because of the misconceptions and because of the way people feel about them just right from the beginning, right? You mentioned reverse mortgage, and they just kind of sit back and go, whoa, we don't need that. The problem is a lot of people don't understand that there's a difference between need and want. And if more people understood how they worked and their ability to help people grow financial wealth, it would be a want, no longer a need. But we got to get over that. It is the most challenging product that we work with because it's emotion-based, not numbers-based. Although once you understand it, it becomes more numbers-friendly.
Right, for sure. All right, let's jump into it. Top 5 misconceptions. The one that I always hear the most, number 1, is the bank owns your home.
Yeah, that's really not true. Ultimately, you as a homeowner still own title. It's like any other loan that you work through. It doesn't matter whether it's a forward loan or a reverse loan. The reality is you own title. You can put it in your trust. You can have it in your name. You can do whatever you want with it. It's yours.
And to that point, I've had situations where people say, well, but I want my kids to get my home someday. That can still happen. Just because you're doing a reverse mortgage and you have a reverse mortgage on it doesn't mean that you can't do that.
100%. It passes like any other property would. Anything that you borrowed from the home, you pay off, and either the heirs would pay the loan off and take ownership of the home or sell the property or whatever they want to do with the property.
Right. All right, number 2, the out-of-pocket expenses for this loan are high.
Yeah, so it's a big misconception there because the biggest expense on this is FHA mortgage insurance. What people don't understand is that FHA mortgage insurance really protects them as consumers. And this is a loan of long term, right? This isn't a loan you have for 2 or 3 years. This is something that we work with financial planners to have 15, 20, 30 years. So if you average that cost over that time period, it's very minimal. And there's no other product out there that can give you what a reverse mortgage does. So the costs just simply are outweighed by that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things that I hear a lot from people who are looking to buy a home who are over 62 is they're looking at just a regular forward mortgage, but they can, maybe they should consider using a reverse mortgage. But the misconception is, well, I can't use it to buy a home. I can only use a forward mortgage, but that's not true either.
No, 100% is not true. And a lot of times people think that the length of time it takes to close that is long. It's not. You can buy a home using reverse mortgage just like you can anything else. And the process is pretty smooth and simple as long as you're prepared for it and you're ready for a reverse mortgage.
Right. Number 4, you'll be kicked out of your home. And we kind of touched on that a little bit, but maybe expand on that.
Yeah, so guidelines have been changed a little bit back in 2014 where consumers don't get kicked out of homes any longer, right? That was a big problem that faced the reverse mortgage industry because you could take borrowers or spouses off. That no longer will happen. So you're protected there as a spouse to where that can't be. You can live in that home. As long as you live in it, pay your property taxes on time, and take care of the property, you can live in it until that changes.
Right. And I know that some of the mortgages that I encounter when I'm helping a client sell their home, they've taken out reverse mortgages probably 20 years ago when the products weren't quite as good. And we did see some situations where people were maybe underwater or maybe they just didn't get the right loan for them. The product wasn't what it is today.
Yeah.
But it's gotten so much better now that people don't have to worry about, like you said, getting kicked out, because of the mortgage.
100%. And ultimately, some of the goals in financial planning around that might be to be upside down, but we have to think differently about it. I mean, imagine all your life thinking you're going to pay your home off.
Right.
That's one of your financial goals. how do you change the mindset of somebody that's all they've wanted to do all their entire life? When I think about our generation or the generations behind us, we will not be able to retire like our parents did or our grandparents did because the game is changing, right? I mean, you're playing a game for 70 years, but the rules are changing constantly. So the question is, can you adapt and change with them?
Right. The last misconception, and then we're going to talk about some other the benefits we've already talked about, is it's a loan of last resort.
Yeah, so I would say 90% of the clients that I work with, it's a wants-based. There's two different clients: needs-based, where you need to do a reverse mortgage because you can't afford your mortgage, or a wants-based, where consumers are highly educated, working with their financial planners and coming up with tactics and strategies to help them save taxes, IRA rollovers, and all the different stuff that come in benefit. Toward 90% of my clients, it's a want-based loan, not needs.
Right. Well, and so let's get into the wants,
okay.
The benefits. I know one of the benefits that I talk to some people about is if they're looking to age in place at their home, but they're maybe in a 2-story and they need to get a lift or something like that, or they need grab bars, they can use it to finance their life to be able to stay in their home without having to tap into investments and things like that. Talk about that.
Yeah, so think of a reverse mortgage as a Swiss Army knife of sorts, right? There's so many different applications and ways to use it that I could spend hours sitting here talking with you about it. So I think the things that most people use it for are to save on taxes, right? A sequence of returns risk, which essentially means you don't want to be drawn on negative market conditions. So, we want to think about what's the best possible way to grow wealth, not just use it. And that's the part where we have to think differently for 62 and over consumers.
Right. So there's a lot of potential benefits for people to do a reverse mortgage, but again, it's changing the mindset. And from my perspective, the best thing that someone can do is to have the conversation with a professional like yourself, not read the news that talks about how this senior was kicked out of their home or whatever, but to really have the conversation about the benefits. And it isn't for necessarily everyone. Not everyone should get a reverse mortgage, but for the right person, it could be such a powerful tool for wealth, for income. People can get income on a monthly basis from it. There's a lot of different benefits that I'm sure you see.
Yeah, all the time, right? We have clients use it for a lot of different reasons. And you're right, we have to think differently about it, navigate through it, work with financial planners. And although it's not for everybody, a lot of times when you start digging into it, getting information, understanding it more and more often, it becomes an even more viable option. We just have to work harder in helping people understand it, helping their kids understand it, and help them understand why they can retire with more money, more comfortably, less taxes, and leave a bigger inheritance to their kids if they just understand how to work through it.
Well, those are all, the things you just listed are all good things. That's what I'm looking for, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So contact Jeremy. His information's on the screen, phone number, website, and so forth. Get a hold of him, learn more about reverse mortgages. Again, it may not be for everyone, but it's a very powerful tool that you might benefit from, and Jeremy is certainly the expert who can help you navigate the whole process. Jeremy, thank you very much for enlightening us today.
Thanks for having me.